For the record, it is April 17th, 2021, and we are on day 2 of the BDA boot camp at part 2, which is the final part for the day. And so rest of the agenda for this afternoon is we're actually going to go through and what we're going to do is go through programs. We're going to go through them at a pretty high level. And specifically, we're going to go through 2 programs that for BDA and the AMO world have been the most successful and something that you can apply directly right away. There's a lot of other things, as you saw from the list that we went through, that we have access to. But for time's sake, we're not going to go through them right now. We'll do other trainings and future things on those aspects. So today is just going to be going through 2 of them. We'll hit them at a high level. And then we're going to go through technology. And again, only one piece of technology. We're going to walk through HubSpot. We're going to have individual meetings about how that works from our perspective. But on our end, that's the one CRM system that we use for the BDAs and the AMOs so that we can all be in one environment and help each other out. So we'll talk about what that looks like. And then we're going to go through at 1 p.m. We'll try and stay on time. We'll get through, do a little bit more marketing. And then we're going to walk through basically recruiting and do like an actual example and what do those phone calls look like and things like that, so that we have something that as you're leaving here, technically on Monday, or if you wanted to make phone calls today or tomorrow, you could. But on Monday, you'd be ready to have some sort of message formulated, and you could start calling out if you so desired. Before we wrap up then too, we are going to go through a brief recap, and then we'll try and schedule those one-on-ones that we talked about as well. So that we can make sure that we have the individual meeting to get technology up and running, marketing plan, and also deal with any personal questions or things like that as information goes up. As a note too, we are going to, like I said, all of these are recorded. So probably maybe today or maybe tomorrow, but latest by Monday, everyone will get the recordings for day 1 and for day 2. You'll also get the presentations that we went through as well. So all that information, and then there'll be a few other extra things that we add to that packet as well. But by Monday, you'll get all of that as well, so that you can review that anytime that you want to. With that said, what I want to jump into is the momentum. So the 2 programs that we're going to talk about, like I said, I'm going to go through them rather quickly. And I'm going to try and get you guys talking a few times so that I can take bites of my food. In fact, Jeff, if you can just, walk everyone through this presentation, that'd be really great.
It would be really
great. So I make sure, I know you're driving, Ed, so don't look down too much, but can everyone see the screen? I'm just going to assume yes. But so the first program that I want to walk through is the Momentum program. We've mentioned this in a couple of the other meetings, but one of the things that we're doing, and this applies in both capacities, the Momentum program, I'm going to read through, is a strategic partner program for insurance agents and financial professionals who would benefit from partnering with an elite advisory firm in the retirement planning industry. And that could be, honestly, so this is actually leftover data from one of the places that we've worked with on this, but this information can be formulated to any advisor, any agent, or the BDA themselves. Just know. So this program is designed to pair agents with a team of professionals who create a proven sales and seminar system, which has produced over $40 million in FIA premium and over $1 million in life insurance premium in 2019. So this is one of the agents that we work with. But the idea is that message is going to change a little bit for each of the BDAs, because we're not going we're not going to say like, if you're not doing $40 million yourself, we're not going to say that you are and partner up with someone like that. But that's the idea of the program, is that it's a partnership program for people that aren't in, and typically most often where this is in the retirement space or doing like maximally funded life insurance and things like that, to partner with someone that knows what they're doing in that and can help them write that business. And all you're doing is split business, basically, is the gist of it. That's the simplistic nature of the Momentum program. We just made it really fancy and have an entire design and materials behind what that looks like. So I'm not going to get into most of this, but the idea is that you have the collaborating agent, which is really the marketing person. And then you have that collaborating agent is responsible to bring the client to the table. And then you have the momentum agent, the momentum advisor, which is two types of people. You have the BDA, like yourself. If this is a program that a BDA or an AMA wants to do themselves, then you're the momentum agent or advisor, where they would split cases. Or you can work with someone that's on our producer advisory teams and partner that agent up with that person to help them write those cases as well. So those are the two people that count as momentum advisors, basically. And like I said, you're working with the collaborating agent and the momentum advisor, whoever that is, to work on business together. This is, the idea of why this should continuance is the idea to earn more money and also have a real roadmap for growing their business that defines what to do. Like having a proven sales model. And this is where I'm going to have you guys talk for a second, but how many, or to put in the question, do you guys think that most agents have a sales system that they're using all the time? What would you say to that? Is that most, some, all?
None of them do. Not a one. And of course, I'm being sarcastic, but very few have a sales model or sales system or something in place that they're using. Successful ones usually do, but most of them do.
That's exactly it. So that's one thing from our side is, like I said, we have that proven sales system for ourselves because that's how we ran our agency. And basically what we've done is we've white labeled that for people that want to use it. But then there's like people like yourself. I'm assuming, but I know Wella has it, and I know Game Plan has it. Some of the AMOs, like I know what they do. I've seen their process. But you guys have a step-by-step, like this is what you do with your client. This is what you present to them. This is what you walk them through. Most people.
Yeah, it's very defined.
Yep. Most people don't have that. And so that's why they miss out on a lot of money, because they don't have that defined. And so that's one of the advantages of partnering with, us and what we do, or your guys' AMO, to help them with that system and to provide that level of support so that they can write that business. And it could be two things of whether they want to just pass off that business and they don't want anything to do with it, or they actually truly want to learn that system and adapt it as part of their practice. We can do either one of them. Because the whole idea for us is this is just a means to be able to get more premium in the doors. So I would agree with that 100%. So this is another place where I'm going to pause and you guys could read through this, but these are kind of some highlights and 8 things that we put together of the benefits of having a program like this for an agent that's actually looking. So go ahead and take a second and read through it. I'll highlight stuff in a second. Jeff, as you read through it, go through and just say one or two of them that you would highlight if you were pitching this program, basically.
Well, the first one, have access to a team of elite advisors who provide retirement planning services to their clients. 3, own the business and have ownership in the client through the whole process.
So, and as you all know, that's what we're doing on that side. This is not a referral thing. This is a split business thing. So that's what's important to mention on that third one. Because like, especially the type of agent you're dealing with, depending on who they are, like PNC agents who've been burned by this so much before, just passing off a referral. The only way this works is if they get contracted with the carriers that we're using and they go on the app. That's what we're pushing here to do this. It's not just, hey, give me a referral, I'll take care of it. Then I'll write you a 1099 or a check afterwards, because then they have no ownership over that process. Anything else that's important or highlighted?
7, the transparency. Receive all the plug and play resources needed to work the program with no hidden cost.
That's important as well. So I know you're driving Ed, so I won't ask you any of these, but if you are watching, is there anyone that jumped out to you too?
I'm driving, buddy. I can't see, but
Nope, then leave it alone.
all right.
No, don't be, that's okay. So yeah, those are all important. And just from our perspective, from BDA side, those 8 points, if you can get a few of them down, then you can use those in your pitch, just talking to agent. Hey, this is why I like to show you the momentum program. This is why we think this is pretty important, et cetera, et cetera. Like I said, I'm not going to go through this, I'm kind of going to price through, but we have a whole process. Meet the team, the momentum planning process, what's included, program requirements, next steps, blah, blah, blah. So like I said, I took this off from the thing we do because we would put whoever the momentum advisor, the person that we wanted to put in there, talk about their bio, some of the partners and stuff like that. And ideally this would have your AMO brand and things like that in there. RA marketing is there is seminar based. Now they've moved to virtual, but they've got great price points. We get a huge discount on their services. And they're a good place to put butts in seats, basically. So that's one of the partners that we use on that side. And then we walk through the process. And like I said, this piece, depending on who we're using, like I said, this is specifically designed based on the firm that we were using. So you get to see, their step-by-step process. But basically all it is sitting down and this is something that we do on the consulting side for our AMO. Like this is a backstep. This is for you guys and AMO and the BDA partners. You guys have your own step-by-step process. We would be able to consult and put that into something like this. And that's what we're presenting. And we can mold this momentum program to your process, basically. So this is one of the agencies we work with out in North Carolina. And this is their specific plan. So, they do an income plan, investment plan, a tax plan, a healthcare plan, a legacy plan. Excuse me, we walk through and the benefits and the advantages of each one and why it's important to have those in there. And that gives them a very high level overview of the planning process, because you're showing an agent that, oh, they actually do have a planning process. It's not just we're saying that we do. Let's actually show you and demonstrate what it looks like. And then this is the steps to that planning process. So this is what they're actually doing and what they're unveiling. So like I said, this can change a little bit if you guys do something else. If this matches really well with some of the things that you're doing, great. But that's the whole idea of the momentum program, is molding it to whoever's doing it. And then we put that together and make a nice presentation and put that all together. So Oh, I didn't change because they're using Redtail, but anyways, we would use HubSpot on that side. There's things that they get for all this. We do trainings, of course, blah blah blah. Membership, active, stuff like that. So we had a cost to this. I'll talk about that at the end, but also we put a cost on it. About 75% of the time, I'd say, everyone that we're working with waived that cost for the agents because it's about getting premium in the door. But the cost helped them understand that there's value to it and there is something that they're paying basically. And then the last piece is showing the money. So we use a $1 Million Roundtable guideline rules for how split business works. We have another sheet and documents that put it all together. But this is just showing them the math then on if they were to just pass off a piece of business, if they were to work on that case together all the way through, or if they're doing everything, they're doing the F&A, they're with the client, and what they really need help on is case design. I have all the information. How do I formulate a plan? So that's that's what they're making. And if they were to do these type of cases with those, different type of premiums, then that's what they're making basically extra on top of everything else that they're doing. This is just as a partnership program to help them get do those cases basically. Like I said, I'm breezing through this, but does that make sense to everyone? Any questions? And then I'm going to show a couple materials about the Momentum program that we have built for the Momentum program as well. But does the idea of the Momentum program make sense? Like, is that something that you can see as useful?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it could be a very constructive tool.
Yeah, and for those, and Ed specifically, and for those that have agencies, this has been a huge hit for like I said, you can use this for some of the good agents that have a sales process are walking through. You can sit this down in front of other tax professionals, PNC agents, health insurance agents, final expense agents that aren't doing the IULs and the annuities and things like that. This whole program is built out and can be adapted to what you guys do specifically or use straight from what we have here. So the last thing I'm going to show on that end is that's the presentation. So that's the sizzle. But we have, scripts made up for different places. Like the one place that we've had the most success with in the past was PNC shops doing this. So let's see. So as an example, although my relationship with you has been only about automobile and homeowner insurance, I wanted to be aware that I also offer comprehensive insurance and retirement planning services, blah, blah, blah. So this is an actual letter that's already made that you just put your name on it basically, or their information, slap their logo, and they can send this out to all of their clients. It's already pre-built, already talks about comprehensive financial services. They don't have to create that themselves because that's the most difficult things for a lot of these places. Well, what do I say? How do I craft that? We already built it out. Here it is. Just send it out. So that's done on that side. And then the only other thing is, so overview. So this is your one pager that you can use to send over to people about the program. There's a couple things, like I said, that we'll switch on there. And then this is the compensation split guide. And I know, Ed, you can't see this, so you can watch this later, but here's we just made a fancier sheet of the MDRT guidelines. So this is what the breakdown is of the circle of fifths that they call it, of marketing, data collection, case design, implementation, and service. Based on who's doing each one of those, that's how you make the split basically. So that's discussed beforehand and there's no confusion. That's part of the transparency. Now, of course, if you're working on the case together, just 50-50 all the way through on all those, then that's a 50-50 split. But that gives a good idea of what that looks like. And like I said, all those materials already built out, already done, nothing else to, there might be just a couple tweaks for each of the BDAs or AMOs and how they want to use them. But that's about all. All right. Any questions on that real quick? All right, so I'm going to flip over to this. And this is one of the other, in essence, programs that we have or communities that we have built out. There's a lot to this, so I'm not going to go over it in depth because we can literally spend, the rest of our afternoon just talking about this. But the integrity and insurance community or brand that we built out, we call it the 3I community for short. And what it is a way for us to market and express to people all the different vendors, technologies, discounts, services, and things like that that we have access to that help them in one location, in one place. So it also is because we have a Facebook page for this, we have a Facebook group for this that people can participate in. It has, a little less than 100 people in it right now. But just to ask, is anybody in, and I think I've asked you this before, but Jeff, are you guys in any like Facebook insurance groups or anything like that? Ed, you are. I think you mentioned that you were, right?
Yeah, we're in a couple different ones. Off the top of my head, I can't think of the name of, but there's one really big one that we're in. My Facebook goes off like 100 times a day because everybody's asking a lot of questions. But I can't think of the name of it. But yeah, we're in a couple.
Life insurance discussion group.
Yep, we're in that one.
Tips, tricks, and closers.
That's the other one we're in. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So each of those groups, they have close to 10,000 plus people in them. And part of what they're used for is as a forum to be able to ask questions, regardless of where people are at and things like that. And then you have access to a lot of different minds, and some of it's really great information, and some of people chime in that have no business chiming in, of course.
Some of it is pretty comical. Some of the answers.
It's what some of it is what?
Pretty funny. Pretty comical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you get some weird ones on there. So on this side, our group is not for, and the people that own those groups are typically marketing something. They're either typically they have an IMO offering, or like Tips, Tricks, and Closers is a lead company that they're focusing on. The 3I community is working a little bit different of how we're building that out, where the people that are, if they have a contract with us, then we are inviting them to that community page so that the people that are in there, we know in some capacity that they're working with us for something. They're not just out there doing absolutely nothing. So those are the people that are in there, and not everyone is in there. We haven't built it out at all, but with the AMO and the BDAs that we're bringing on, and what that looks like, we think that that's a tool that everyone can use to express, hey, we're all part of one larger community. We believe in helping each other out and working together. There's enough business for everyone. That's the basic premise of the integrity in insurance community, is that regardless of your distribution model and what you're doing, and if you're in another agency and you're not in mine, we believe it's better for us to leverage each other's knowledge and skills rather than be cutthroat and I'm only in this for myself and I'm not going to help any other agent with any of my secret sauce because, you know, they're going to cut into my business. Because the reality being is that that's not the truth. There's so much business out there. There's so many people. And if we actually work together and actually understood how we're doing things better, we can help the client better, which is really the premise of the group. So that's that aspect of it. But then the core of what the 3M membership is about is that it's a membership community. So people pay a membership to get access to this. And what we're doing for all AMOs and all BDAs and how they're going to market this, it's going to be, we used to have it at $19.95. It's going to be $12.95 for everyone. And the core thing, so there's two big things that people are getting right now, and we finally finalized, you know, the E&O one, but that is probably most important for people to grab. But number one is the websites. And Ed, before you get our team is way behind on websites, just so you know. I know we owe you yours. So, but before I start talking about websites and how great of a job we're doing, I wanted to address that piece before we go any further. But one thing that's on there, like I said, is the ability for an agent to get a landing page at a very, very, very low price. We're not talking about a full-blown website. We're talking about landing pages. It should pull up in a second. There we go. So I have no idea who this person is. This is just something we grabbed anywhere, but this is in essence what the landing page looks like. We have a few other ones, but it has some videos in there, has the services, has some questions, has a little bit about them, has their bio. If they're using the scheduling thing, it can go in right here, and they can schedule a session. So typically something like this is probably going to cost $10 to $30 a month for an agent. They get that as being part of our community. It's not costing an arm or leg. As long as they're paying the $12.95, that keeps on going. So like I said, that's something that's important. E&O discount. So we now, because of what we've done with them, we officially have a Napa discount. Napa is probably one of the larger E&O insurance companies that are out there. It's not a whole lot, but it saves the money. And of course, Napa's benefits, there's a lot of benefits that Napa has just by having their E&O insurance. So like one of them is a free voucher every 18 months for your continuing education, so that you can, which actually I need to do before the end of the month, to pay for that as well. But they have a lot of other benefits, but those are two big things that have like tangible value that you can market. And then the other things are, they're kind of just throw-ins. This is technically, as we've already went over, this is the 3-mark system. But if they get a contract, that's what there's going to be some things that we'll rearrange in here. We're still coming out with a university, like a training university, basically, that is what's called a learning management system. When that's done and built out, that'll be part of the membership. And then the other thing that comes along with that is discounts. So we work with different lead vendors, website development, marketing services, affiliated softwares, CRMs. By being part of the membership, they get access to those discounts as well now, and what that looks like. So that's just another piece of it. And that's all for, $12.95, because they have to pay something for these things, because we have some back end costs, like for the websites and stuff like that. This is just a tool as a marketing piece. People are looking for that. The biggest one is that landing page that people get access to. So that's just an FYI. We're not going to go through the rest of the stuff, but it also just has tidbits about those different programs, and some of the things that we have going on, and the unique pieces, the charitable giving, retirement architecture, travel insurance, premium financing programs. It just illustrates some of the things that we have access to that might not be something that they have already. You know, the iRocket program, the IUL Rocket program, Debt to Wealth, Connected, video emailing, messages and tracking. Those are all stuff that's in it. It's a lot to go through, but just the idea of those bullet points, landing page, discount on E&O insurance, and discounts on lead vendors and other things and such like that. That's part of the community. Now, as an aspect, not everyone's going to use this, and then everyone's going to need it. No one has to pay a membership to be part of us. If they're getting contracts and they're running business, great. But if they want the extra things that are on here, then that's what they're paying the membership for, to get some of those different things. So leverage that as a tool as you see fit. Like I said, we're always adding and refining things and putting them on there. And one of the things that we're going to do is make this page, we're going to make it a one pager, as well as more of a marketing thing, where this is kind of like when more of a consulting aspect of, here's things that we have, let's go through them, what fits, what matches with you. But we're going to make this a one pager by end of next week, so that you guys can have it, market it as a program, basically, that would help out. All right. Any other quick questions just about that, about what I went over and what you guys saw?
I think you owe me a landing page too, Nathan.
Yes. Sorry, who was that?
It's Janine.
Oh, hey, Janine.
Hi.
I'm
joining the training today for part of the day.
That's great. It's always a pleasure to have you on. I know I always see you in the back, like moving around, or you're always off screen.
I have to do all the work, Nathan.
I'm gonna leave that alone. I'm not gonna get in the middle of that one. I'm just gonna, let's just move on. Let's just.
I was laughing away too.
Oh, that's phenomenal. So moving on, what we're gonna do next is I want to go through and technology. Like I said, our goal is to get, just so that everyone knows, my goal is to get out of here by 2:00. I'm going to do a quick walkthrough of HubSpot. When we set up the individual one-on-one meetings, we will walk through HubSpot together to make sure that you're on the technology platform. That may be a half-day meeting for you, Jeff. But on that, just as a discussion piece, I know Ed and Janine, you guys are familiar with it. I think Jeff, you might be familiar with HubSpot as well. No problem. I know, Jeff, you had to jump off for your son's soccer game, so thank you for being on. But as a discussion point, on the BDA and the AMO side, HubSpot is our CRM system that we use so that we can be in one environment. So that's for agents and things like that. It's also something that we sometimes recommend to other people, but I know CRM system wise, people have their own stuff. We help consult on it a lot of times because we've used a bunch of CRM systems in the past. We're aware of them, and different ones fit different people. HubSpot is just the one that we've landed on that is we like for a lot of different reasons. I'm not going to go into it in depth right now, but that's the one premier one that we focus on because of how versatile it is and what you can do to make things happen on the back end. But whatever CRM system you guys are using yourself, and I know I'm specifically talking like Ed, because I know you guys use Go High Level. There's lots of things that you'll be able to do on the back end for yourself, Ed and Janine, that's taking data from HubSpot to do some of the marketing and things like that and the drip campaigns. Because we all know that HubSpot can be cost an arm and a leg if you're getting to that, going to that extent on the automation and the drips and things like that. We just want to be able to use it as a tool for all of us to be able to easily, in essence, manage what's happening. And if we need to pass information on between each of us, or the other thing for us is passing off leads, because as we develop those relationships and those marketing platforms that we've been mentioning, like with what you saw with Cody, over the next 60, 90 days, we want to be able to have an easy way to pass off a lead rather than an Excel spreadsheet in an email. We want to be able to give them to you and know what's happening with them, and to a certain extent. So we're not going to cover this a whole lot, but just the idea of the importance of using a CRM system and HubSpot. I'll do a little show and tell. And then, like I said, in the individual meetings, we'll set that all up. But I know I'm going to pause for a second for just Ed and Janine, because I know you might have some questions or things like that on the CRM, just CRM system in general, because I know you use Go High Level. But is there any question that you have just about your people, the BDAs that you would ultimately bring on, using HubSpot in conjunction with Go High Level and things like that? Any things that you have on your end before I move on and do a demonstration?
No, Nathan, we're fine with that. We figured that we would have to separate out anyway the BDA role versus everything else, and do with Go High Level you can do sub accounts. So we were anticipating do a sub account anyway. So there's no issues.
Okay.
We just want to be able to work from a drip campaign, like you said, and keep the cost to a minimum on what we need to do. So
and on our end, because I know you're familiar with HubSpot, like that's why we use that on that end, because we can give out unlimited free accounts.
Yeah.
So that's part of what our responsibility is, of doing the training and on that, out of how we use HubSpot and that nature. And really it is, if an agent wants to take it to a different level, or like I said, using Go High Level in the systems that you have, or whatever CRM system they're using to drip and send out outbound things, that's up to them. But our main point is to use it as the data management system, where we're literally inputting information. And then if we need to export that data to any place, we do not, as an understanding too, we do not own that data, as in everyone has the ability to import and export their own stuff. We're not holding it for ourselves. If someone leaves, that's the AMO's data, that's not ours. So it's always a communication thing and a transparency thing, because I know everyone understands how managed CRM system using. We do have a master account, but everyone has the ability where it's not locked in there, where, okay, you had a BDA, had brought on 100 agents, or they put in, 500 people into the CRM system, and now they left. Okay, now that data is ours. That's not how we're operating the system. So just so that everyone knows that. With that said, like I said, I'm going to jump through and just do a quick high. Now, whenever I'm saying high level, all I can think about is Go High Level. Like, that's it. But I'm going to do a high level overview of just how we use this and what this looks like on our side. So really quick, let me share the screen again for everyone that's on and the people that are going to see the recording afterwards. But the basic idea is we're going to send you an invite. This does not cost anybody anything. Again, just to reiterate that, you'll have a free account, and what it'll allow you to do is to use it as a data management system. If you have agent leads, agency leads built in, and that you're working with, this is where you would put them. You have an Excel spreadsheet with lots of names and numbers, we'll help you input them into the system. And this allows then because just as with clients, follow-up, being able to take notes and things like that and know what's happening with those agents as your clients is going to be extremely important. And if we don't have a system to be able to do that, then that becomes very difficult to follow up, because you'll probably be working with when I'm saying like you're working on, it could get up to very quickly like 200, 300 agents of you're making those outbound phone calls. And if you don't have a system for that, then it makes it very, very hard to know, okay, well, who did I talk to last? When do I need to talk to them again? What was the last notes, et cetera, et cetera. So that's what this system is really designed for. It
Hey,
has
Nathan,
oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry, man.
You're good.
Uh, is there in the free version? Can you call and text from this version?
You can log calls. You can't text in the free version. It doesn't log any of the texting things unless you pay for an add-on.
Okay.
Sorry, I took a bite while you did that.
No, that's fine.
You're supposed to talk longer, Ed.
Hey, I can talk all day about CRMs, man.
Does not allow you to text. It allows you to log the calls. And that's one thing, integrating it with the phone and things like that. And you can take notes straight from the phone and add the follow-ups and things like that. But the free
Okay.
version is a little bit more basic than I know what some of the things that you're using it for.
And then can you email in the free version and set up a calendar in the free version?
You can email. Yep. So the email is integrated. So it'll have it'll log any email that you receive or that you send out into the one system so that you don't have to look through it through your email. You can just go into the contact and see everything that's happening with that person, all the correspondence via email. And then what was the last part of that question?
Can your calendar link? Can you link a calendar to it?
You can link, as in it shows you when available times. Are you talking about the scheduler?
Yeah, I'm talking about like Google Calendar, like what we use. Can you link a calendar to it?
Oh, yeah.
So
Now
it shows the time. Go ahead.
Yeah, so it has a schedule piece in it, but it doesn't have a link to your, like, you're not going to have a tab where you see your calendar in the CRM system.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, that'll still be in your whatever calendar you're using. Like I said, we use
Okay.
Google,
Yeah.
but there's no integration on the calendar side. It has a scheduler that if you want to use it, it would link with your calendar and check your available times, but not a place for you to be able to see in the CRM system, okay, this is what my day looks like. This is how many appointments I have. You would have that up in a separate screen, basically.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. Keep going, man.
No, you're good. Like I said, that's going over this and how people are using it. Like, it is, of course, there's all those fun, like pretty much everything that you're talking about. If someone wants to use it like that, we have the capacity of doing that. But on the free version of what we're doing, like I said, we're just trying to get people to start with the getting the data in there, managing it, and creating a pipeline so that they can see visually what's happening with their clients, with their agents, basically. So the two functions that I'm just going to go over really quick, there's a bunch of things that are in there. A few actually. Is number one is with the contacts themselves. And like I said, as a note, like I said, we have 5,906 contacts that are in here right now. There's a lot of these that are, in essence, dead accounts that no one's been using, or, we've been put the data. So like we have, if people need people to call, like just cold call, we have lists upon lists. And this is not even scratching, like we have a list of 50,000 agents in other places. We have, I think between all the lists that we have, quite honestly, we probably have close to about 500,000 names and numbers and things like that.
National.
Yeah, nationally. So cold calling wise is that number one activity. Just ask us if we have a list for anybody, any of your BDAs or any of the AMOs that want to call outbound to that. We can get you that really easy unless if you don't have anything yourself. So just FYI. Outside of that, I'm going to use Jeff Dietz since he's on here. Well, now he's not, but he can see this later. But the biggest thing is with the type of information. So we have contact types, custom original source. So like I said, I should be filling all this out, what this looks like, what kind of contracts he has. We've built this out for a BDA basically. So to be able to see at a glance information, what's going on. So like right now, like I know he has Allianz. What other ones did he get? I think he got Global Atlantic. And then I could look at Smart Office and see all that information. I can technically export that file as well and import this in here. So that at a glance, I can see what's going on with him and what he has access to. Of course, you have Smart Office for that. Smart Office is the view only section though. This is not required to put any of this in, but the more data that you have in here, the better you can be able to help your agents and what that looks like. So outside of the data and the properties, which is what this is over here, the other big thing is having the database of emails. You can log calls, not that you're recording calls, but that you had it and what you've talked about.
Document it.
Exactly. And then the other thing is tasks. So creating that follow-up, well, so I talked with, you did a call block and you talk to a bunch of people and, you want to follow up with them next week. You can create that task here and it's going to send you an email and remind you that that's what's going on and what's happening. So that's part of the functions just in the contacts. There's various levels of depth with that, but other quick things to note is templates. On the free version, you guys can only see the top five, the first 5 of these basically, but like that contracting and coding template, you can actually have that in your, as a template, just click on the button and it's just going to automatically load that into your email basically. You can also email straight from here too. Same thing with documents. You guys in the free version, you only see the first 5 documents that we upload in there, but they would be the most important ones. And you can just add that on there and for what that looks like as well. Outside of that, the only other thing then, and like I said, this is high level overview, is the pipeline. So the idea is the contacts is going to be for everyone to utilize as soon as they're got contact information, they're putting it in the CRM system. But you're not going to put everyone in a pipeline because that's going to ruin the pipeline. Pipeline is for only people that have raised their hand and said, I'm interested in a conversation, basically. And then what that allows you to do through that pipeline, and this is the process that we've built out for this. Again, it's nothing crazy. It's very simplistic, but we count the first step of the pipeline when someone raises their hand and says, I'm interested in a contract. So as soon as someone says that, we want to heavily be able to track what that process looks like, from interested in a contract to sending out the contract yourself to getting a contract submitted, the agent having their writing number, and then we consider it a win in the process when they've written their first piece of business. So visually, this would allow you to see everything that's going on in that deal pipeline. And so from an AMO perspective, this is going to help you guys be able to, in essence, manage the BDA and see, okay, well, you've been talking to a bunch of agents, where are they in the process? You can see that and look into it because you guys would have an account as well, where you can manage that. And then for the BDA, like I said, logging in there and seeing, okay, I've got 10 people in contracting. I've sent out all of those. Where are they at in the process? Visually, you can log in here and then you can move those people along that process to see what's happening. And the other piece then, that's for you personally, but then the other reason why this is important for our side is because, of course, as we generate leads and give those to people, we do want to see at least what's going on with them, because we're not going to continue to give leads to,
There's no activity.
yeah, if there's no activity and there's no follow-up, and we're not going to give another 50 leads to somebody, 10 leads to somebody that's not doing that follow-up. So that's important to us to at least just visually see, hey, the opportunities are still there. We can't take this away from anybody. But if we're giving leads, we want to make sure that they're followed up properly and someone's doing something with them. So that's the basic design of the CRM system. There's of course many other things that it can do. But any other like quick questions, like I said, we'll deal with most of it in our one-on-one, because this would take a decent amount of time just to make sure it's set up properly. Everyone would integrate it with their emails and their phones and things like that. We'll help out with all that.
Hey, Nathan, couple questions. When a lead comes in, whether it's from an AMO, from, let's just say, solving life's puzzles, let's just say I'm the BDA in this situation. How do I know it as a BDA that a lead came in from either 3i, yourself, or my AMO, my managing AMO?
Yeah.
How do I know that a lead came in?
So first off, whenever someone's assigned a contact in here, it sends someone an email.
Okay.
So that would be the first thing. And then we would input it as that custom source, where it came from. One of the categories would be it came from 3i or it came from SLP. So when they look at those contacts, they can see that information really quickly.
Okay. Okay. All right. Cool.
Any other questions? All right.
I do not at this time.
Okie dokie. All right, hold on one second. All right, so now we're gonna last leg of the conversation. So we're gonna try and put some skin on this, basically. And actually, I'm delaying for like a minute or two because I know Ken's actually gonna jump back on at this portion, because we'll tag team it a little bit. But we've gone through a lot. We went through first day, like I said, how to acquire an agent. We brought on 3Mark, introduced to those different people. Brought on Cody and some of the things that we're doing with him, so that you understand the larger scope as well. We went through the agent support 101, so contracting, quotes, illustrations, new business. We talked about the pro forma then and the potential of what this looks like for a BDA and what that could look like. And then we just went through HubSpot, and we went through a couple of the programs at a high level, the Momentum program and the 3i community, of how they're used from the BDA perspective. Really where we're at right now is, like I said, I want to do a little bit of role playing of how to bring on an agent and what that looks like. And then basically when we wrap up, we'll do some Q&As, see if there's any questions about next steps. We'll make sure we get the meetings scheduled on the one-on-ones, and then we're gonna get out of here. But before I do, like I said, with all that process and everything that we've gone through, does anyone have any quick questions before we go through this walkthrough? And actually, while everyone's getting set up and Ken just comes on, I'm gonna have a 2-minute break really quick. So I'm gonna be back on in a couple minutes. All right, so our next section, as I said, is talk a little bit more about recruiting, and what we're gonna do is do a walkthrough. And I already warned Jeff earlier today that he's gonna be the guinea pig. Really quick, what I wanted to do is just talk about how some of the different ways that we can have those conversations, and what that's going to look like. I mean, we're all agents. We've all gotten these phone calls before, whether it be from a real person, which I haven't gotten too many real people calling me too much anymore. They're all like robocalls. Most of the ones that I get. But that's where the personal touch of what this is going to look like. So just want to have a brief conversation of basically from acquiring an agent to getting them on board, what that's going to look like. So just going step by step, using someone in the room as an example, basically, so that you can legitimately see what that looks like. So Jeff, what type of agent are you?
I'm pretty much a GP, general practitioner.
Okay. So what are we gonna have your folks be like? Retirement planning?
Focuses on life and annuities and the different applications.
Perfect. So I'm a marketer. I'm a BDA. I'm gonna call out to him. I don't know Jeff at all. I got his name and phone number from some kind of list or from Google, or I researched him, or I found him on LinkedIn. And I got his, like I said, I got his number, and I'm gonna give him a call because that's really where the personal touch is happening. So, like I said, this conversation could look differently for everyone, and that's why I'm not going as this is not an outline to a script. This is a foundation for just a conversation starter, basically. So, really understanding everyone, as we talked about, we're providing the tools and the training and the platform and different things, but this does not work if you guys do not put your own personal touch to it. Oh, of course, now Dennis comes on. So I think that's important to mention because, like I said, the core component that we've always talked about throughout this entire presentation is that relationship matters. Is that Dennis? Okay. And so how you interact with people is going to be important. What you really want to try and find is the way to get into the door. How do you start the conversation? And how do you make that interesting enough where you can open it more for having more time with that person, basically? Now, I will say first and foremost that the number one key is that you're a real person and that you're an agent like themselves. Leverage that however you need to. But I'm going to call Jeff. So ring, ring. Hello, is this Jeff?
Yes, it is.
Jeff, this is Nathan Klug over here at Praxis Agency Consulting Group. How you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. How about yourself?
I'm doing great also. Hey, the reason I'm giving you a call is I know we had connected on LinkedIn. I found your information on LinkedIn, and I see you're in the retirement space. I just out of curiosity, are you doing maximally funded life insurance or annuities right now?
Yes.
Yes. Right now, what's your go-to? Is it IUL space, or are you mainly focused on annuities?
I generally do both.
Do both. Do you have a favorite carrier?
A couple of them, yes.
What's like your number one?
One America.
One America. That's great. I'm very familiar with them. So, Jeff, I know you probably get these phone calls all day long from everyone. I do too. I mean, I've been an agent now for a little over 10 years. Our real focus is I want to find a way to support and help agents like yourself get to the next level in their business. Right now, I mean, are you working with an IMO?
Yes.
Or an agency?
Yes.
Scale of 1 to 10. I mean, love them. They're okay. They don't do much for you. Like, where would you say on that 1 to 10?
I guess I can say I'm satisfied with them.
That's phenomenal. What's the one thing that you love about them most? What's something that they've helped you out with?
I guess getting applications through efficiently.
Gotcha. That makes sense. That's important. Is there any other marketing or support things, or have they done any consultations with you?
Not to any great extent, no.
So on that note, if if you could work with an IMO that would be able to actually sit down with you and provide you not only everything that you have at that current IMO right now of getting applications through and making that's done, but really helped you with back end support as well and talking about like maybe brand stuff, possibly getting it, being able to generate more leads. Is that something that you would be interested in having a conversation about?
Sure, absolutely.
Listen, I don't want to take up too much of your time right now, but would you mind if we jumped on a 15-minute phone call in the next few days and maybe had a little bit more time to talk about that?
Sure.
Great. So what I'm going to do is, is this your cell phone number?
Yes, it is.
So I'm going to shoot you a quick text, and this can change, but with my calendar link. Are you familiar with Calendly?
Yes.
So I'm going to send you my Calendly link. It's probably the best way so that we have to go back and forth and figure out our schedules. I'm going to shoot it over to you. Click on the button, find a 15-minute time slot that works. And then we'll talk at that time. And if I don't see something scheduled the next day or two, I'll give you a follow-up call just to make sure you got everything.
Sounds good.
Looking forward to talking with you, Jeff. We'll talk at that time and get more involved. Okay.
Very good.
You have a great day.
You too. Thank you.
All right. That was quite honestly, even on my end, that was a little rough. But what did you guys think about that phone call?
Did you get the gist of it?
Yeah. Questions, comments about that specific phone call? Was that something difficult? Do you think everyone here could do that?
Yes.
Thank you, Jeff.
Yes.
Thank you, Dennis.
I have a question.
Go
So
for it.
you connected to Jeff on LinkedIn. Did he know you were calling at this time?
No.
And is that your general way of doing it versus using LinkedIn messaging to schedule a time? Hey, we're connected. I'd love to talk about business to you, and then actually set up a 15-minute phone call via the LinkedIn messaging? Or do you like to do it that way where you just call them out of the blue, talk a little bit, and then schedule the thing?
It could be either one.
Do you, Dennis, not being as active on LinkedIn, if you've used that, have you gotten a reply, or do you know what the percentage of replies are when you send something out to be scheduled off of LinkedIn?
I have very good success doing that. Often I'm connected one-off. We might have a little bit of a dialogue on LinkedIn through the message, and then set up a phone call.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I like it when and maybe it's just my style, I like to schedule my phone calls, even if it's a text. And you guys do it. You and Ed, you text me and say, you got a minute? I just appreciate that so much in receiving it. And I return it that way to other people as well.
Yeah. And I agree with that wholeheartedly. Like I said, on the other, on the ease side, because sometimes we get, if you have a name and a number, you have an in. And
Yeah.
I wanted to start with the idea of, even if you're not getting that next conversation, you're not scheduling that, as long as you have those two things, you can make a phone call and make a connection. It might be a little bit rougher than, if you had a little bit of setup, but that's what I'm talking about. The idea of just foundationally, what this looks like on this side. There are plenty of processes and ways that you're going to find as a BDA or as an AMO that is going to be like, okay, I've identified this is our sales process on this end, and this works really well. But at its core, a name and a number, and you're an agent and they're an agent, and just connecting with them, there's plenty of marketers that have tons of success just doing that. But I agree with you 100%. We're not here to talk about like, this is the process that everyone should go through. If you're on LinkedIn, this is what it looks like. If you're on Facebook, or if you found their number. But you're absolutely right, Dennis.
Well, and I just think there's a variety of ways. And sometimes mine is one step further. It takes an extra step, but and you can be very efficient. I'm connected to a guy. I got his phone number. I'm calling him.
Yeah.
And he might say, "Hey, I'm really busy right now." Okay, let's schedule the time then. So yeah, I think that's fine. I think variety, there's no one way to skin a cat.
Yeah. So as another example, like I said, the core, I think at the conversation wise is what I've noticed, and Ken, you can chime on this piece as well really quick, is asking the question of what are they doing? Like, are you doing life insurance? Are you doing maximally funded life insurance? Are you doing retirement planning? Are you a PNC shop? Like asking that question first, like what product they're doing, what they're in, because you're already thinking of the next thing of, okay, well, what value do I have next after that? So one of the ones I was just going to bring up real quick, and then I'll let Ken talk about it as well, because I know you're familiar with Jeff, is AIG Partners Group. So, hey, are you selling, maximally funded? Are you doing IULs? Oh, you are? Great. Out of curiosity, if have you heard about a product that limited distribution product and can give you a 20% bonus on the production that you're doing over $30,000? Is that a carrier that you know of or have right now? And they're like, well, no, I haven't heard about that. Well, I love to schedule a call. It's a company. You can sometimes give them a company right now. Ideally, you'd like to schedule a call and get more information. But, well, we have a limited distribution product that does that. Phenomenal IUL, top 5 in the marketplace. Would love to see how you're using that and have that conversation. So those are things that go along with that. But Ken, real quick on that side.
Yeah, I mean, I guess my 2 cents is, yeah, I mean, I definitely see marketing and that outbound connection as being a spectrum. So, I mean, I would agree with Dennis. I much more prefer having some type of, a warm lead in and being able to schedule that meeting. But to paint the picture and kind of making those phone calls, we have a few callers out in the Philippines. So they'll generate like cold leads for us. So like that lead in that Nathan just did might be more applicable if we were, calling on cold leads, or if we were getting a agent list, like newly licensed agents off of, what's that called, Nathan, when they just get licensed?
Nipper.
Yeah. So, it's the hardest call to make. I guess it depends on the BDA's practice and what they're looking to do. But yeah, definitely a spectrum, definitely different, methodologies. But if you can master that cold call from a BDA standpoint, it definitely gets you on your game for sure.
Yeah. So
I especially liked that you were all about finding out about Jeff and his practice, what kind of space he works in, if he was working with an IMO, what he liked about it, what he didn't like about it, maybe something about his carriers. I like the lead-in question about, do they do anything besides just provide a carrier? Are they doing anything developmentally, or, and nothing about, so what are you getting paid through that IMO? Are they giving you above street? Are they giving you street, or, where that is at? So I thought that's really good.
And as I say, on the other side too, like I said, there's lots of different ways to have that first phone call, and we won't spend too much more time on that first phone call, but it also could be like we talked about, with Cody, with Connected, we do that webinar very easily. It could be, hey, Jeff, I know especially if we're doing webinars, well, let me do it as a webinar, but Jeff, this is Nathan from Praxis ACG. The reason I'm giving you a call is actually, I know you're in the insurance space, and we're actually doing a webinar we're showing people how to generate their own leads using an automated system on LinkedIn that we have. Is that something that you would like to learn more about? And, leads caught their attention and generate their own. Well, phenomenal. There's a little bit more you can talk about it, but then say, if they say yes, well then great. What I would love to do, not to keep you long here, I would love to have you join the webinar. I'm going to send you the registration. I have your email as this, and is this your best number? Make sure you collect the data and then send that over, and then you're inviting them to the webinar. And then of course you want to make sure that you follow up and make sure that they registered. If they didn't register, then you give them a call back. But that's a very easy sales funnel as well, that you're coming to them with a value proposition up front. And then you're going to have those back end conversations about their practice after they see like, oh, that's an amazing system. I would love to have that in my portfolio. Or, if we're doing a webinar on Global Atlantic, and from an agent perspective, again, couple pieces about their value proposition. Oh, you don't have this type of product portfolio in for yourself. Great. Let's invite you to this webinar. Check this information out. We would love to talk to you afterwards. So there's just a few ideas on that first initial phone call of you're trying to get them to that next step to see a little more or sit down with you a little bit longer. So that's the first phone call. That's the outbound one, whether it be, you can do that through messages, you can do that through LinkedIn as well, and things like that. The next phone call then after that, so we had that 15-minute phone call, and I'm not going to go through the entire spiel on this side, but it is even more so what you talked about of having a longer conversation about their practice. So you're going to learn about them. So in that next phone call, you would basically walk through with, hey, thank you for scheduling the time. Would love to learn. Before we go into anything else, the first thing that I really want to do, Jeff, is I want to learn more about your practice. We're a consulting group. We're a little bit different than just a traditional IMO and things like that. So I'm not going to tell you, this contract or this contract and stuff like that without knowing really what you're doing. So I'm going to ask you a few questions about, your practice, what your goals are. And then from there, I'll come up with some solutions. And if we have time, I'll go through them right now. If not, then we'll set up another time where I can really walk you through, well, these are our solutions, and this is how it's going to help you get to where you want to go. Does that sound like a good plan?
Yes.
Perfect. So, Jeff, you mentioned, you kind of mainly focus on annuities and life insurance. Are you doing IULs, or are you a Nelson Nash whole life guy in that space?
I use the plan that fits the need.
Okay, perfect. So that's the hybrid guy. There's usually, when I talk to agents, they're usually an IUL guy, or they're in the whole life camp. There's not a lot of them. They're like, you know what? Both of them fit and both of them use. So I completely understand that. I respect that a lot, actually. So that's great. So in that space, like on the IUL side and on the whole life side, name one favorite carrier in each of those spaces that's kind of your go-to right now.
The whole life would be One America.
Whole Life One America, I'm very familiar with them. And then what about the IUL side?
I've used a couple. Used American General, and I've used Lincoln Life.
Okay, yep. Familiar with both of those. Those are both carriers that a lot of my agents use as well. And I know the IUL space, sometimes things are changing. Different companies are trying to get market share, but those are two good carriers that are really out in that space. On the annuity side, so are you mainly doing FIAs, or are you doing also like SPIAs or MIGAs or things like that?
Mostly FIAs, occasionally the others.
Gotcha. So what's your, are you doing income annuities, or are you mainly doing accumulation annuities?
Accumulation.
Gotcha. So are you a big fan of the income riders and some of these annuities at all?
Yes.
I heard the Tennessee in there, so I completely understand. There's a lot of debate on how they're used and people like that. So I definitely get that. So in the annuity space, you mentioned One America is on that side too.
Yes.
Gotcha. So correct me if I'm wrong, but what I'm hearing, are you, because I'm familiar with One America, are they have kind of a career option? Are you one of those agents that have that, but you're kind of free and independent agent to choose other things as well?
Yes.
It's an amazing opportunity. I know a bunch of agents that are in that space as well. So yeah, the One America product line on that side. So I know that there's some other annuities and things like that. You probably use a lot of their asset care.
Yes.
Great product as well.
Yep.
So tell me a little bit about, are you singular agent, or do you have agents that are under you that you work with? What does that look like?
It's just me.
Just you, gotcha. It, out of curiosity, in the future, is that something that you'd like to change, where you actually build an agency, or you really focus on being a singular producer?
You know, I have entertained it. It's just that the time element
Mhm.
that it would take to do so. I'm not in a position really to do that on my own.
That story I completely understand. I mean, typically when I'm talking with people that want to do that, one of the problems that they have is they stop producing to spend time building their agency and build out the platform, the systems, and then they don't make money. So then they go back to produce, and then they stop working on the agency, and it's a really vicious circle that they go through. So I definitely understand that cycle. Well, that's great. I mean, I'm taking some notes here. I think there's some things just already from what I'm hearing that I think would be very valuable that we can talk about and go through. Tell me a little bit about your goals, like 5 years from now. Like, well, let's even start just 1 year from now. 1 year from now, like, what does that look like from you? Where do you want to be at production level, and things like that for your practice?
That's a good question. I guess if I were to reflect on prior years, my goal is to try to increase my production by 10 to 12% each year.
That's a phenomenal number. So right now, do you have systems and things in place, or different lead programs to be able to get you from where you are to where you want to be and get to that goal?
Not entirely, no.
Sounds good. If so, on that side, if there's some things that I can show you where you can potentially generate, more leads, have more conversations, is that a conversation that you'd be interested on that side to help get to that place?
Sure.
And then just to ask on this side, because we're, of course, on our side, we're not a captive agency at all. We play well in the sandbox with other places. From what I'm hearing, it sounds like there's a few gaps and things like that, that with the current place that you're at, that they're not, they may not be equipped for and not helping out outside, helping you with, which is great. I'm not here to steal you from them and what they're doing, but I would love to find a way with some of the resources and tools and programs that we have that we can definitely fill in those gaps and help you get to that same place as well. And I think there's some business that we can do together on both those sides. So on that note, here are a couple solutions that I would say directly, and I would like to talk more about them another time because I know we're kind of getting to the end of our time. But number one, you mentioned the agency concept. We have a program that we call Agency 360 that really helps take those things that you're talking about off your plate, where we can help you build the platform, and you're basically offloading your time component to building that out. And we can help consult you on that, where you can still continue to produce and build that out, but we'll help you with that back-end agency model. Is that something that would, sound like an amazing system for you?
Yes.
Great. We'll talk more about that next time. And then just in the carrier selection, and how many carriers in general do you have access to right now with just as a portfolio?
They've got a pretty wide selection. Right now, I'm probably just contracted with maybe less than a half a dozen.
Gotcha. Well, and there's some suggestions on that end. Like there's one, you mentioned American General. Out of curiosity, have you heard of one of the other divisions, AIG Partners Group at all?
No, I haven't.
You're playing well, Jeff. Thank you for playing along. Because I know Jeff actually is familiar with it. But well, AIG Partners Group, do you do anything in the living benefit space?
Yes.
So American General and AIG Partners Group, the biggest differentiation between them is AIG only has like the terminal illness riders, and then of course the added riders on there that have cost to them for critical and things like that and chronic. But in the AIG Partners Group side, that's built into those policies. So the accelerated benefits and what everyone's selling right now, that's built into that on the AIG Partners Group side. And the other kicker then too is that AIG Partners Group gives a 20% bonus on any production you do over $30,000. And the American General side does not have that same deal. So you're literally getting paid a lot more to do the same policies that you're doing now.
So is the amount earned or annualized?
It's target premium.
Yeah, but do you have to earn it or is it annualized? So if somebody's paying monthly, do they?
Annualized, yep. So you can see the math of what that looks like amount of policies wise, and that's in a calendar year from January to end of December. The bonus usually gets paid out in January or February. And of course, their product line is just the ones that you're familiar with. It's the same products, just adding those accelerated benefit riders plus that bonus. Is that something that you'd be interested in?
Yeah, it sounds good.
Well, like I said, I know we're at the end of the time now. Let's set up another, 30-minute time, and I can actually walk through on my end. I'll show you a little bit more information about some of those systems and some of the things that I recommend. But again, I'll send you my calendar link. Let's send it another time, and then we'll get together and talk about the rest of that. Sound good?
Sounds fine.
Thanks, Jeff. Good conversation. I'll talk to you later.
I know.
So I went a little long with that, but that's, like I said, that second conversation could take a few different areas. But real quick, just again from everyone from my end, before I say anything else, any feedback? What did you like about it? What didn't you like about it? Do you think that would work? No one's saying nothing. I know Dennis is I think he's at the airport. But I suppose just from your perspective, Jess, I know you played along well, so I appreciate that.
I'm here. It takes me a while to unmute as I'm listening along. I really liked the consultative approach. You're not selling, you're finding out about his practice. I was just kind of thinking about how one could differentiate themselves as an IMO. What are you getting from your IMO? We could really, and I feel like we can offer coaching or consultative or positioning on various products and how you get into a different kind of market. And that's, as well as all the added programs that you have. So it's just kind of cool. I was just kind of thinking along that line of just really helping some of these advisors out there, agents out there who have zero support or are just clueless, and you could really add a value add besides just bringing carrier ideas or product ideas. So it's cool. I liked your approach.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to go over a couple of, because the quick path, of course, in that model is carrier conversation. I recognize AIG Partners Group didn't have it. We could have stopped there, and that would have been a very quick path for me to probably make a few bucks as a BDA and get a contract over. The other things are added bonuses to be able to talk to them about, because it may not just come down to a carrier saying, well, hey, these are other areas that we may be able to help out with, and kind of throwing in the idea, well, hey, it doesn't sound like your current IMO is really doing that. Don't want to get too heavy into that of bashing the place that they're in, but understanding that there's a difference and we may be able to help a little bit more. But anything on your end, Jeff?
No, I translate, or I just put the same premise to developing a relationship with an agent as if I were in retail. That to find what is available that they don't know about and educate them on.
Exactly.
So it's that premise for me to explore the IMO that they're working with right now. I don't know if they broached them on it or not. If they have, they're not taking advantage of it.
Yep.
Why not?
Yeah.
What are they reluctant about? What don't they understand about it? And if we're able to develop that, then they're going to start leaning towards us.
Yeah.
Because the communication's there. They're now finally getting the impact of the services.
Exactly. And that's something, understanding that IMO language and talking about, well, what do you like about your current IMO? What are you frustrated about? What are they doing great from you? Do you have a good relationship with people? Because one of the things that you're finding out too is, because sometimes you're going to find out very quickly, there's no way this person's moving. The guy at the IMO, that's their brother. I mean,
Right.
it's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
Hey, I really appreciate that. Hey, I know you got a great relationship with the IMO that you're with. Hey,
Someone
is,
working with somebody you're trying to sell, hey, my cousin's in it.
yeah, yep,
Okay,
exactly. And you can ask them, hey, just out of curiosity, is there a place for us to be able to earn some of your business? They say no, then great. I would love to follow up with you down the road because, especially on that one, because sooner or later, family is bound to do something that's going to upset each other. But yes, those are all good points on that side. Anything else? Because I know Ken's on for that second phone call to put some format on it, or from Dennis as well. Before we kind of jump into the next thing. Yeah, just like
Nothing else from me.
okay, sounds good. Anything else on your end, Ken? Did I lose Ken? All right, so that's really that next that second conversation of what that looks like. As soon as I have that second, the second, there's basically a third conversation in this context, and it may be from that second conversation, if you get in more of doing the carrier side, then you could be at that contract process right away. And it could be very well that we talked about AIG Partners Group, and as Ken put in that recruiting process, you always want to do the ask, and whether that be right there or in that next conversation, the ask for us is contracting. The ask is not, like I mentioned, this Agency 360 program and things like that. The ask is not for us to do that for them, because we're not doing that for them if they're not giving us any of their contracts. Because we're not strictly a consulting firm charging them an arm and a leg to be able to get that process going. We use that tool at cost or even lower to be able to earn their contracts and their business. So always remember that within that context. Any program that we're creating or we're selling on our end is at a price point that is lower than what you would find if anybody else had that same program, because we're using it to earn their contract and then support them so that we can help grow their practice. And we're all winning off of the production, not off of them shelling a bunch of money to us for the programs that we're offering, and then them taking that someplace else, basically.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Hey, I'm wondering, Nathan, if we're at a luxury in that we're in the same town, and if a BDA wanted to come in and do an afternoon of phone calls and had them lined up or whatever, are you open to being that fly on the wall and maybe coaching then and saying, yeah, where you were talking about that was really, coaching behind the scenes of live calls?
100%. Ken will be there for that all day long. He'll take care of all those different aspects and coach that.
Very cool.
I see. I was trying to incite something from him, but I don't know if he's still, what happened to his phone or if he's on. But no, the answer to that question is absolutely. We have, and Jeff is looking around right now, as you see, and we have plenty of space to be able to do that. That's would be perfectly fine. Have an agent come in anytime to make those phone calls, and we'll have those conversations. If we need to do three-way stuff together too. Again, as I mentioned yesterday, probably the first, in essence, 5 to 10, unless someone's got it down right away. I am more than willing to help out with that side to make that happen, basically. So whether it's a three-way phone call, helping out with the contracting process, making sure the technology's up and running, et cetera, that's all easy peasy for me. After 10 though, we got to have a conversation. So then what I was getting to then, just to finish up that process, we have Jeff on the hook. I'm going to go through, like I mentioned, AIG Partners Group. The ask then is, well, it sounds like that would be a carrier that could really benefit from your portfolio. Would you mind if I sent over contracting for that?
no,
Great. And notice in this conversation, again, we haven't talked about comp. And sometimes you don't actually need to talk about comp. Because if the agent's not asking for, well, either what's my comp or what's my level, or can I get a higher level, then typically the already agreement is that you're getting street level. And now you always want to have that. And one of the things that I always tell people, great. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send it over, contracting over to you. I'm also going to send over the grid so that you know what that looks like. And then I send them over a street level grid. So that doesn't have the rest of the stuff on it. And he will see all the products that we offer, every carrier at the agent level, at the street level for everything, and say, well, this is what it is. I know on that product, the IUL. So just out of curiosity, over at American General, what is the commission level that you have for that specific product?
85, I think.
85. Well, just so you know, street level on the AG Partners Group side is actually 90 on the IUL. So that gives you a little bit of bump. And then, of course, the products, and you want to be in the commission, of course, you want to be specific about the product. Don't just say, hey, what level are you at for this carrier? Because each product is going to have a different commission level. And what happens a lot of times is they're going to give you, like, they can give you the 30-year term rate, which a lot of times is higher than every other product out there. And you're like, oh, great, I got to match it to that product line. And they're like, oh, but on the IUL, they're less. So mention a specific product when you're talking about comp, not asking about carrier comp. That will be helpful in that arena. But then I send over the contracting to them. I would follow up then after probably a day or two maximum after I sent out contracting and said, hey, I just wanted to make sure that you've received everything. Did you have any problems with the SureLC link? Blah, blah, blah. And you don't have to check anything on the back end for that. That's just a follow though. And then great. Well, it sounds like you got it and you got yourself in. I'm going to follow up with our contracting team. So Alexandra is the one that handles contracts. I'll shoot you an email to make sure you have her contact information. And if you have any questions directly, you can, of course, talk to me or you can talk to Alexandra as well. And then just check on that. The only other ask then at that point is, well, what piece of business are you working on? You know, can I run you a quote? Let me show you some of the resources that we have. I would show them the 3Mark website where he can run quotes and illustrations, get them in the contracting and quoting email that goes out. He's going to get those videos, mention those videos to him. And then you're just talking with that. What piece of business? Here's your writing number. Hey, what do you got going on right now that we can put in? Would love to get you to that, you know, over $30,000 of target premium. So you're starting to get that 20% bonus. And then you might start talking about other product lines. So we mentioned annuities with One America. I mean, you mentioned that, you know, sometimes you do income stuff, but I know one of the biggest problems with income is a lot of the carriers like Athene and Allianz, it's a 10-year timeline to turn on income. Out of curiosity, would you want a product that you can turn on income in the first year on a fixed index annuity chassis? If he says yes, great. Well, hey, that carrier is Global Atlantic. Here's another carrier. What case are you working on that would fit with that kind of product? So I won't go through the rest of it on that side, but I think you guys get the picture of what that could look like if asking those questions. And at the beginning, you're a little bit, I mean, it's not to this extent, but I'm gonna say walking on eggshells, because you're trying to get an idea of, well, how do they operate? Am I trying to ask for too much?
You got to familiarize yourself with how they're going to be receptive.
Exactly. But be forward with them and direct as well, and then ask those questions, and then anything that you think would apply to them as you learn the programs, services, technologies, resources that we have. Like, I know another big one is CRM systems. So just point blank, so out of curiosity, you know, Jeff, do you use a CRM system right now? And someone would be like, some of them are no. And you're like, oh my gosh, you're not using a CRM system? What is wrong with you? Yeah, you're using paper still? And literally one of the agencies, top of the table earner, MDRT, her name's Anna, and she did everything on paper. So we sat down with her, showed her HubSpot, got her into that, gave her, a free account. She's not using it for anything crazy, but she's converted all of her files to go in there. And that was a huge help for her. It took a little bit of time. It was a little bit of pain in the butt because she wasn't completely, she was like Jeff, not completely, a little bit technologically challenged. But she writes consistent business all the time. So little things like that could help push that over basically. But so yeah, it's just finding those pain points and having that discussion and then moving from there and earning those contracts. But outside of the follow-up then is just the follow-up, everything that we talked about in the contracting quotes and illustrations. In the beginning, you're probably touching base with them, especially if they're a producing agent. We kind of have those A, B, and C lists of agents. So your A lists are that tight group of people, they're writing business every month. And you're touching base with them probably every week to tops 2 weeks, just saying hi and seeing what's going on with their business. You get to learn about their family and the kids and what's going on with them. See if there's anything you can support them with. Then you have your B list of people. They write occasionally, but they're not A-listers. They're not writing necessarily every month. They'll put a case in every once in a while. So those people you're touching base, again, every couple weeks or so. And then the C list of people is they write a case once a blue moon or have the capacity to write a case. And you're touching base with them because you still want to follow up with them. But that's probably like once a month if you're busy with everything else, seeing what else you can do for them. But that ABC, that's also built out in HubSpot too, that you can categorize them. And like I said, there's things that you can do to see, okay, well, here's all my A-listers. This time block, I'm calling all these people, seeing what's going on with them. But
Hey, Nathan.
yes.
So, from the agent perspective, we often talk about the prospecting model of you got to reach out to 10 people to gain 3 visits that where they will share financial information. You'll get a fact finder to gain 1 client, 10, 3, 1. Is there a model in the wholesaling space of anything like that for, that they preach to people working the phones?
Yeah. I'm actually, if Pan, are you there still? Because this would be a really good time for you to chime in.
Ken's on his couch at home.
I am actually here. All crises have been averted.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I'm getting phone calls like
burn down
crazy.
another apartment.
I literally am. It was testing the limits of my technology knowledge, trying to jump on and do other phone calls. But yeah, good question, Dennis. I've heard kind of that same type of thought process used. I think from my recollection, more like 10, a little more contacts. I would probably say 20 contacts, depending on your marketing strategy. So on the cold side, I would pop that number up a little bit, but very similar to what you just said.
Yeah. As I say, the same thing. Usually with on the appointment side of what you mentioned, that 10-3-1, it's probably going to more look like 10-5 or 10-6 or even 7. And that one might be pushed up a little bit higher. But that's specifically like on cold call lists. If you're talking about warm market people and like you have any relationship or any connection with them whatsoever, I mean, that number could astronomically get a much higher of a close ratio because the close on this side is not, they're not giving you their money. That's what you're asking a client for.
Right.
So if you figure out the right pitch and the right conversation, you could increase that a little bit more. But once again, at the very beginning of those first initial phone calls, it's going to be more of that 10-5, 10-6-1, and then as the drip and the follow-up happens, that 1 is going to increase to 2 or 3 a lot of times, and increase more.
Yeah. Dennis and I are familiar with the thing. There's an interest in.
Right.
I think that would apply here as well.
Sure.
And one add-on I'll put there, Nathan, the one difference I think that happens numerically is just, agents, obviously, if you get in the door and they're willing to have that conversation, I mean, we want to talk shop so readily that once the connection's made, like them giving you the details, obviously that comes very easily.
Yeah. Absolutely. And like I said, if we're doing a good job of, like, if you find that, and that's why I'm using those, carrier concepts of AIG Partners Group, a Global Atlantic, like figure out a couple pitches that most people don't have an access to, because that's going to be your quickest path to closing that, of getting a contract, which is really where the 1 is coming from. That's what we're looking for, is that we closed a contract at the beginning, because without a contract, it doesn't matter how much business they're doing. The conversation's not going to go anywhere else. So those things are helpful as well, of making that a quick path. Whereas there might be some other tools and things like that could be a 10-8-5 if we're talking about getting people on a webinar, because that's a much easier ask on that end. So depending on what you're inviting them to and getting them to in those conversations, that's where those numbers are going to vary. But for the next like that 5-10 minutes, because then we'll just do a quick wrap up. Like I said, the plan is to get here out of by 2, but those are all great questions. Dennis, any other questions or any questions on your end? Just what we went over on the recruiting side really quick. Hopefully that was helpful, and kind of everything that we've talked about, of taking that information, sending it down into a message that you're talking to an agent with, and having the conversation to earn their contract, basically. But any other questions or that anyone has?
I'm good.
Great. Any last things on your end, Ken, before we kind of wrap up?
No, not at all. Just excited to take the next step. I know you're probably going to, in the wrap up, talk about just scheduling the next meetings and how we can be of assistance. So just excited to jump to that.
Yeah. So on that note, as that wrap up, like I said, we've now spent, actually for all of us here, it's been 3 days. So Thursday, the orientation, yesterday and today. If you don't want to see us for the next week, we actually understand. That's a lot of time with us.
It's a good sign that we're still here.
I was going to say, well, I don't know what that says about Ed then. No, I know Ed had to jump off. But our next step then is, like I said, it's
They locked the door on me, Dennis.
our next step is, so the presentation, everything that we went through, the recordings for each of the days are going to be sent out. So actually, just as a quick side note, I don't know if Jeff or Dennis, did everyone get the recording from yesterday? I sent it out Friday morning. Okay, Jeff.
You mean Thursday?
What was that?
You mean Thursday's recording?
Yeah, Thursday's recording. I sent it out Friday morning. That's what I was.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep,
good.
got that.
So you got the recording, the presentation, so you guys can do the orientation stuff and things like that. Kind of come in the same format of what I'm talking about here. Is you guys will get day 1 and day 2 and the presentation, and then there's be a couple other things that'll come along with that as well, of just resources and stuff that you can have. But next steps outside of that is then scheduling the one-on-one. So there's a couple different meetings. In fact, let me pull up so I can walk everyone through that.
You have,
Well, and I would also say Jeff needs to fill out his AMO agreement.
yeah, the affiliate, yeah.
Yeah.
Or yeah, and did Renee send that to you, Jeff?
Yes, she did.
Okay, so that's good.
Yep. So that's that piece. So affiliate agreements for marketers and stuff like that. Number 2 then is scheduling those times. What I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it on you. Ken and I both have a calendar link, a Calendly link. And
Are those done over Zoom?
either one, they can be in person or Zoom. It's probably, especially the technology one, especially for Jeff, it's going to be a requirement that he does it in person. Because I don't know if he's going to be able to get on the Zoom to even do it. So, yes. So we'll schedule that. Ken, can you shoot me over your calendar link real quick?
And
Yep, I'll
generally,
send it.
Nathan, are these done in quick succession or a week apart, or?
No, so ideally we'd like to get all 3 of these individual meetings done within this first week.
Okay.
Is what we're ideally looking for, because then yeah, we don't want to have a latency between, you know, all this information and then being able to go out and make
You know what, right?
exactly.
Sure.
Now, on that note, technically,
And what are the
'cause-
3?
yep. So the 3
titles?
are getting started meeting, which is really, we're asking questions. We're talking about, you know, some basic things on what that looks like. And making sure that, you know, if there's any things that was happening from the boot camp or the orientation, if there's any follow-ups with that, just talking about, you know, your specific stuff. The next one that is a marketing meeting. So that one's done with Ken. So that would be like going through, you know, social media stuff and how do you plan on getting information out there? What's your branding? What's that look like, et cetera, et cetera. And then technology meeting, which is really focused on HubSpot. We can go over Band a little bit more and what that looks like. But yeah, we can do, that could be, sometimes that's a half a day thing where someone just comes, like spends a half a day and gets that done, depending on what their schedule looks like. And we'll take care of all 3 of those things, or we schedule them each individually. So we can figure out what that looks like on that side. Together. But any notes on your end, Ken, just about scheduling that?
Yeah, the marketing meeting's pretty easy. That's definitely most beneficial as a one-on-one, just because it's so individual.
Yeah.
As we're bringing on more BDAs, like Dennis, if you had 3 people come on at once, the technology meeting can definitely happen corporately. Like we can come out and just spend some time and get everyone set up on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, I think that's all I would have on that meeting.
So these one-on-ones are with Jeff. Are there any that you would say it would be, you're obviously welcome anytime, Dennis, but it would be really good if you were at X?
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, I think it would make sense that you see them all done at least once, but as many times as you want.
Okay.
So what we'll do is this, because I know we'll schedule with Ed and stuff like that. Separately, I'll give him a call, but I know basically you guys are both here. We'll do the marketing meeting separately. Ken, we'll send the link out and I'll send it to, to you, Jeff. And then, like I said, you guys can communicate with Dennis on what time would work. So you guys can add your calendars. And then probably for the getting started and technology meeting, let's do those more together. Does that sound good, Ken? Block off, those 2 things together to take care of both those aspects.
That sounds good to me.
Sounds good. So I'll send the link over for Ken, and then for me, you'll see specific, it'll be like a 2-hour time block between getting started and technology. We'll set up that 2-hour time block, and then we can get both of those things done at the same time then. So you'll
Got
get
it.
my calendar link for that. And then you and Dennis can talk on the back end about whatever the heck you guys want to do and get together after you guys
Perfect.
schedule that.
Okay, That makes
Sounds
sense.
good. Well, then, like I said, the next you'll get the calendar links from me and from Ken. I'll send them both at the same time. We'll CC you guys both on it. Anything else?
no, this was great.
You have us all here right now, so
I'm, Ed and I were texting back and forth and we're both pretty energized. And I'm jazzed that Jeff is moving forward in this, and I know we will talk as far as that goes. But overall, I'm really excited.
perfect. Well, we're excited too. Glad to have you on the AMO and the BDA platform. I think there's gonna be a lot of things to do together. I know because I know Mark, you've been on here as well. I see you unmuted yourself. I know next step conversation with I think with Ed for next and what that's going on with there. But I know we haven't really talked and met on that end, so I'm not sure what that looks like on your side. But I have that conversation, and then we can tag team afterwards for whatever we need to do to get that done.
Sounds good, David. It was just a good learning experience for me. I'm new and haven't had any experience in management. Period. So it was just was something for me to learn.
Oh,
It's just
perfect.
educational for me.
Well, I appreciate you jumping on and spending time with us. That was hopefully you picked up quite a bit. And like I said, then we can have those conversations on the back end and go from there. But in the meantime, like I said, you gentlemen, you'll get the links. We'll have the conversations. And yeah, I'm excited. You guys have a great rest of your day. Dennis, when do you jump on the plane? Dennis has already jumped on the plane. Sounds good. Well, then on this side, then, Ken, I'll talk to you later then. Ken, shoot me your link though, real quick in an email. I know I have it
that
saved
sounds
someplace,
good.
but so I don't have to find it.
No, I'll send it over right now. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it and look forward to working with you.
Sounds good. Everyone have a phenomenal rest of your day.
You too.
All right. Bye-bye.